Dia-λόγος, amplitude, polymαθία, and interdisciplines. Resonate in the spectrum of time, part 2. Dia-λόγος in the nature of my reality. Dia-λόγος, τη φύση της πραγματικότητας μου. Oh my God, my Greek, I almost forgot it. Anyway, consider, for example, the work of an artist. Can it properly be said that the artist is expressing himself? For example, literally pushing outward something that is already formed inside of him? Such a description is not in fact generally accurate or adequate. Rather, what usually happens is that the first thing the artist does is only similar in certain ways to what he may have in mind. As in a conversation between two people, he sees the similarity and the difference, and from this perception, something further emerges in his next action. Thus, something new is continually created that is common to the artist and the material on which he is working. The scientist is engaged in a similar dialogue with nature, as well as with his fellow human beings. Thus, when a scientist has an idea, this is tested by observation. When it is found, as generally happens, that what is observed is only similar to what he had in mind and not identical, then, from a consideration of the similarities and the differences, he gets a new idea which is in turn tested. And so it goes, with the continual emergence of something new that is common to the thought of scientists and what is observed in nature. Real dialogue is where two or more people become willing to suspend their certainty in each other's presence. David Bohm. From logos to dialogos. It was only in the last 2 or 3 years I have been able to understand the complexity of knowing how to listen to others while I also listen to myself. In each encounter, I always part from one perspective, mine, and slowly I allow the information to be woven slowly as I discover, while confronting my shadows, the ideas that might not be resonating at first, but perhaps will offer me a new perspective in time. The latest part of my inner dialogos has a lot to do with an urge I have to devote myself to understanding time, value, and making sense of the interdisciplinary nature of my inquiries. I have also engaged in the dialectics practice among a group of diverse friends with subjects that range from mysticism, Bitcoin, trading, harmonics, creative processes, and the science of differentiation, human design, among many other subjects. The dialectic method is held between two or more people that hold different perspectives about a subject and are willing to establish a line of communication that offers a breakthrough, reasoned argumentation. I am studying music, harmonics, to understand time. I am studying financial charts to understand time. I am studying geometry, the tarot, and numerology to understand time. I am deepening my studies on human design and astrology to understand the nature of my reality. I have felt that the energy all moving forward, taking action, and being so grateful for the opportunities I have to express myself through creativity. What kind of inner dialogos are you going through? Do you have a meaningful dialectic practice? What are you studying at the moment? Intervals and overtones. Okay. This is a non-defined composition, if I may call it like that. It's my first attempt as a simple exercise to find the truth about time. Are you ready to listen? To the man who pursues his studies in the proper way, all geometric constructions, all systems of numbers, all duly constituted melodic progressions, the single order scheme of all celestial revolutions should disclose themselves by the revelation of a single bond of natural interconnection. Epinomis 991e, 992a, Plato, for relating tone to number and both to geometry. Time, chronos, kairos, aeon. I am not the only one looking to master time. Every human being is looking to decipher it, to stretch it, to beat it, to live it, to understand it, to experience it, to run away from it. Time is a conduit as emotions like music are sensed with time. Time is perceived as the emotion of the mind, and the fourth dimension is how we perceive this reality through movement. Time can be the master of maturity, wisdom, and value. Can you become more conscious of your spatial emotional boundaries? Within the emotional spectrum, ask time to show you the wave. Chronos, Saturn, is linear time, which has a past, a present, and a future. It can be quantitative, homogeneous, and secular time. Kairos is an opportune moment or a due season, qualitative, heterogeneous, seasonal, archetypally informed time. Aeon, cyclical time, as shown by the steady motion of the sun through the constellations, unbounded, sacred, or eternal time. Current dynamics. Leo full moon, Venus and Mars last quarter square. The moon nodes change gates to 27.6 and 28.6. In terms of periodicity, look back into your journals and make note of what was been emerging while we have been in the Scorpio-Taurus nodal axis that started back in January 2022. What were you willing to be confronted with? What have you dealt with? And what has been finally released from your psyche? Look for the dates mid-February, mid-May, August 1st, and November the 8th, 2022. The wave of stripping fear away is almost finished. Basically, after this spring, we will have upgraded to a different frequency willingly. The next term is all about a synthesis where you show up as a sovereign individual. The full moon in Leo on February the 5th, 2023 culminates 192 days where new intentions were set as to how we wanted to embrace our unique being. The full moon squares Uranus, the ruler of this Aquarian Sun. The impetus is to use the resistance that Uranus is creating to make last revisions on how we're individuating and creating a solid structure of our new identity within a community. How can we set into action while listening to our needs, integrating everything that Mars has been sampling in Gemini during its retrograde period? Making a last quarter square in mutable signs, Venus in Pisces sings a tune of both compassion and beauty. While it approaches the end of a cycle by meeting Neptune at 24 degrees again on February 16th. It is the same degree they met on my birthday on April 27, 2022, when Jupiter was nearby. Let's remember that Venus brings the opportunity to reconnect to our essential needs and values. Venus has been leading the North Node in Taurus and it will be the ruler of the upcoming South Node in Libra, while Mars will lead as the ruler of the North Node in Aries by the end of the year. The Sun joins Saturn in Aquarius for the last time in 30 years on February 16th. The Earth and the Moon are on gate 7 and Sun is on gate 13 during this new moon. Have you integrated the learnings of the last 3 years? What are the strategies of direction and leadership coming to light as you attentively listen to the experiences of the past? This week, the nodes will shift to gate 27-28. The North Node will be on my Mercury and Sun, and later on my Jupiter. The South Node already touched my Moon some weeks ago. I do feel a sense of realignment and reconnection to what keeps my immune system safe, and how can I take care of my resources wisely. The North Node in gate 27 at the Sacral Center, line 6, wariness of abuse of generosity, sensing if one has to respond to the instinct of nurturing others before nurturing oneself, which could lead to depleting vital energy. South Node is in gate 28-6. It's not giving up. It's willing to win at all costs, ready to fight for the meaning of life. The only fear is to live a life with no purpose. Can you devote the next period to knowing what exactly is needed to nurture your life so you can reconnect to the natural resources that are part of your design and are endless in nature? Rudyard, time, harmonics, and amplitude, which is the maximum displacement or distance moved by a point on a vibrating body or wave measured from its equilibrium position. It is equal to one half the length of the vibration path. The great Dane Rudyard gave us so much knowledge through his writing about astrology, but did you know he was also a very gifted musician? Music and the stars have forever shared space. In the attempt to understand reality, the Greeks with the quadrivium sought deep understanding in empirical practices. First one tries, then one knows, and after one becomes friends with wisdom. I agree that the real knowledge is based on experience rather than just on available information. Reading texts, quoting texts, talking about text, or even writing about them. Real knowledge to me is empirical. And in my opinion, it must be tried and refined through trials and errors, and it should be felt, observed, and synthesized. I write all this from my own experience. What you do is your journey, your experiment, your knowledge. We can sit down and compare notes within a dialectic practice, perhaps. Dan Ruger, in his own words, I'm going to be reading from an article that I've been quoting underneath. The Magic of Tone and the Art of Music, Chapter 2, Sound as the Carrier Wave for Tone. In most ancient cosmologies with a metaphysical foundation, that is, that speak of a transcendent spiritual realm of being, antedating material existence and becoming, a release of sound is said to cause the precipitation of the forms of a spiritual realm, noumena and archetypes, into the objective, perceptible, and measurable materials constituting the foundations of existential entities. Hindu metaphysics and cosmologies speak of the primordial creative sound, Om, as the power that gives birth to the many worlds of existence. When speaking of its cosmic, spiritual, or metaphysical aspect, I shall capitalize the word sound to refer to what a vibration of molecular matter produces. I shall use the word uncapitalized. This is coming from The Magic of Tone and the Art of Music, Chapter 2, Sound as Carrier Wave for Tone. In Genesis, Elohim, the plural God, creator of the universe, said, "Let there be light," and there was light. The same refers to the release of a creative power that should be thought of as sound in its spiritual or spirit emanated aspect. The result of the divine utterance is light. Sound, therefore, precedes light. A human being can utter sounds through his or her voice but cannot generate light. This may be the reason sound is considered the primary type of wave transmitted vibration. A less anthropomorphic picture is presented by the contemporary yogi Baba Haridas, who has said, first it is a point, then it changes to sound, sound changes into light. A Sufi saying also states, creation comes into being from south, sound, and from south spreads all light. Both quotations are from the Rainbow Book, San Francisco, the Fine Arts Museum, 1975, page 134. Atoms spin and so do planets. Cosmic sound is the power that generates the rotative motion of every globular form of existence. If there are periodical changes in the rotation of the Earth, as advocates of various pole shift theories claim, the rationale for these changes may have to be found in the periodic action of some central galactic sound, for the Earth moves in galactic space as well as around the Sun. rather than in millennial modifications of some external features of the Earth's surface, for instance, Antarctica's enormous ice cap, or in the movement of continental plates. The capacity of music to arouse emotions, or more strictly speaking, to arouse feelings that induce emotions, is quite evident, even in Western culture, which has thoroughly intellectualized music. We should distinguish emotions from feelings. Feelings refer to the reactions of the organism as a whole, in some cases of only the body or the psyche, but most often both are involved. To a life situation, one feels tired, sad, insecure, depressed, or ebullient, joyful, and confident. Emotions are waves of outflowing energy directed towards some person, object, or situation. Thus, desire, love, anger, and jealousy, resentment, and fear are emotions. Emotions imply physical or psychic movement. I have to make a parenthesis because I define these things rather differently. The first part, I don't call them feelings, but perceptions. And the second part, emotions based on the Taoist traditions, are just five of them, and they're anger, sadness, joy, fear, and anxiety. That's my point of view. This power of music is stressed and discussed at great length in many ancient books from China, India, and Pythagorean Greece. So, also is the power of sound to heal and reinvigorate an organism, by which I mean the mental and emotional components of a person as well as his or her physical body. See Chapter 4 regarding Pythagoras' use of tones and Appendices 1 and 3 on Chinese music and the origin of European music. Will and sound are vehicles for concretizing or exteriorizing needs, emotions, ideas, and subjective states of being or consciousness in general. Will and sound are carrier waves, bringing what is potential into condition of actualization and effectual manifestation. Whatever will and sound carry gives them a specific character, which involves both implicit purpose and latent meaning. These characters imbue sounds with the quality of tone. Similarly, the activity of the will carries to the physical mechanism of the body what we call a decision to move in a particular direction, toward or away from a particular goal. As sound and will are neutral, they can be used for destructive or catabolic or constructive anabolic purposes. Sound may kill as well as heal. Some of the Japanese martial arts train one to produce a deep, very intense shout that is intended to kill one's opponent. This sound is a vocal tone. It is a tone and not merely a sound because it carries a definite intent and purpose. It projects and communicates at the physical, biological level the conscious will to kill. It is a vocal tone endowed with a magical power. The word tone has several meanings, which should be differentiated for clarity's sake. In musical theory, the term tone defines an interval, that is, the relationship between two successive steps in a kind of abstract ladder of sounds called a scale. Between the ends of the ladder are tones and semitones, quarter tones, and sometimes distinguished too. We also speak of a particular tone of a musical instrument and of low and high, loud and soft tones. In these cases, tone refers to the frequency and intensity of sound. The word tone also has a non-musical meaning. One speaks of the tone of a person's muscles and of the tone of a particular society's morals. In pharmacy, some substances are called tonics. In these cases, tone refers to the capacity of an organism, a person, or a whole society to mobilize its energy in response to challenges or merely to maintain itself adequately in a range of circumstances. The tone, then, is almost synonymous with potency. A state of tension is also implied, as a violin string needs to be stretched and tense in order to produce tones. Whatever is too relaxed lacks tone. Metaphysically, the most fundamental tension is that between spirit and matter. Or, in the philosophy of wholeness, I have developed the tension between the principle of unity and the principle of multiplicity. See my book, The Rhythm of Wholeness. The universe is the product of a creative release of power this tension generates. In terms of pure energy, this creative release is sound because it communicates or carries out to the inert expanse of chaos, pure matter, the compassionate quality and purpose of spirit as the expression of the principle of unity, which religions personify as God. Sound manifests to the consciousness of spiritually illumined beings as one fundamental tone. It is the tone of one life that fills the entire universe. One life because it carries out the purpose of the principle of unity, or as mystics say, of the one. As a polymath, I enjoy focusing and studying on many subjects, whether it is for the creation of a public art commission, imparting community workshops, sharing my thought process weekly through writing, facilitating study groups, researching all sorts of topics, or creating intimate connections through readings, evolutionary astrology, and human design. I'm also very curious and quite engaging in communal settings by asking meaningful questions. I'm here to inspire others to be authentic. I read somewhere one cannot call oneself a polymath. Well, I don't care. I am one. As much as I state definitions, this one is very embracing as the multiplicity adds an endless amount of results. Polymathis, having learned much, interdisciplinary. As a polymath, I am integrating it all together, or rather, allowing all things to be as one. Von Warburn defined polymathy as the knowledge of various matters drawn from all kinds of studies, ranging freely from all the fields of disciplines as far as the human mind, with unwearied industry, is also to pursue them. Murphy, Catherine, 2014, Robert Burton, and the Problems of Polymathy, Renaissance Studies. I'm always looking for connections and patterns which are part of a logical stream that supports my inquiry. Yet the abstract circuit rises between times and through a metaphor and allegories inform my individual journeys, the ones I can experience while deciphering time. In other words, the methodology should be unique as it is my own life. Let your light guide your life to be one of service and devotion to joy and beauty. Happy full moon in Leo. Be your own sunshine. This was long, but I needed to connect with this process that I'm in right now, trying to put together a lot of stuff. So thank you for arriving to this point. Have a great week.